It is extremely humbling to speak after someone like Dr. Truman. You mentioned that in the 70s and 80s growing up, you thought America was going to obliterate, or America or Russia were going to obliterate the world. We grew up believing that British people are more intelligent than we are because of your accents, and actually you've proven that to be true today. Speaking after and before you exposes just how unintelligent and uninteresting I really am. So I do appreciate your time, and I appreciate you being here. I did get a note coming in that AAA is in the parking lot, and so I don't know if anybody called them, but you might want to go down and check that out. I will be using just my regular boring accent, and I will be speaking in monosyllabic, in one-syllable words, and so your brains can relax for a few minutes. As Georgette mentioned, my name is Johnston Moore. I am the Adoption and Orphan Care Specialist for Anglicans for Life. These are pro-life issues. A lot of people have talked about in light of the Dobbs decision, that there could be a lot more children that need to be adopted. There are a lot more children that could go into foster care. And of course, our culture would say, well, that means we need women to have easier access and more access to abortion. And we would say, no, that means we need to have more churches and more Christians step up to support women, men who are having children and maybe struggling to raise their children, or realizing that they are not in a position to parent their children well. And so we need to be able to step in and be willing to be foster families, be willing to be adoptive families, and support people who do decide to give birth to their children and not place them for adoption and don't lose them to foster care. They need support too. And so we need to be there as the church. We need to step up and be there for those people with support. My wife and I adopted 7 children through Los Angeles County Foster Care. We were foster parents for 16 years. We fostered other children who stayed with us for a while and went back to their biological families or went on to other families for adoption. I will say there are certain advantages. Some of you are young. You're going to be having children. You're having families in the future. Some of you have children or grandchildren who are reaching that age of marriage and childbearing age. And so I just want to say there are certain advantages to being an adopted dad. Like I said, I'm an adopted dad of 7. One of those advantages has come up when we get that dreaded question from our kids, Mom, Dad, where do babies come from? And a lot of you have experienced that. It's a very uncomfortable situation. Our youngest came to me a while back and she said, Dad, where do babies come from? And I said, well, it's easy. They come from social workers. And so we went out and got ice cream after that. It was great. So there are other advantages. I want to bring your attention to this brochure. It's on the table downstairs in the lobby. We have a table with resources. And this one is our Orphans and Vulnerable Children brochure. And it just talks a little bit about these issues and how Anglicans for Life can partner with you and come alongside you and help your church start foster care ministries, adoption ministries. You can get involved with the Anglican Adoption Fund. Anglican Adoption Fund is a wonderful ministry that's been around for a while, where we actually are able to grant funds for people who, Anglican families who are adopting children. And we've helped several families over the years with that. And you can refer people if they're interested in adoption to the Anglican Adoption Fund, or if you're interested in contributing funds yourself, you can donate to the Anglican Adoption Fund. But we can also talk about international orphan care, foster care, family preservation, and adoption. And so I just wanted to introduce myself and let you know who I am. Find me during lunch, any other time, and I'd be happy to talk to you. Thanks a lot.
15 years ago, I was asked by a parishioner to help him start a worship service in a nursing home near our church. At the time, I was a church planter focused on sort of college graduates, but I can remember the first time entering into this place called Heritage Nursing Home, and I found there an incredible need, but also an incredible opportunity. What I encountered there was a facility in very poor condition. It was dirty. It reeked of urine and cigarette smoke. And there would be residents sort of just sitting in the open in pain for hours at a time. But as we started a brief morning prayer service there, we began to see the Lord work in very powerful ways. We saw individuals commit their lives to Christ just months before passing away. We saw people who were abandoned outside of the church for years come back. We even saw some miraculous healings. We saw a woman who was unable to communicate for years suddenly burst into song while we were singing "Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing." And since then, I've helped to start other worship services in nursing homes and assisted living facilities for the last few years. And I found that the condition of many of these facilities and the care of residents in these homes is really just as bad as what I saw at that first one. I think most people are very unaware of how bad the situation is. When people I talk to think about nursing homes, they usually picture large facilities with clean private rooms and resident chaplains paid to provide pastoral care. But such facilities are the exception, not the norm. Most nursing homes are under-resourced and understaffed. In fact, only 25% of facilities meet the recommended minimum number of nurse staffing hours. 45% are deficient in infection control. 42% have issues with food sanitation. And the worst statistic of all, over 60% of residents never receive a single visitor. Furthermore, most of these homes do not have chaplains, and many of them that I've come across have zero Christian activities at all. There are few opportunities for residents to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ and to participate in the church. Why are so many Americans consigned to live out the last few years of their lives in poor facilities, receiving no visitors and having no one to care for them? I think at the root of this problem is a lot of what we've talked about at this conference so far, that our society, it equates worth with production. Those who are able to work, achieve, and make money, they have more worth than those who don't. And those who cannot achieve and produce are pushed to the sidelines or even eliminated. So we've talked already about children born with Down syndrome and how 70% of them, those who are pre-screened, are aborted. And this is the case because these children are seen as burdens, not as joys. Something I think similar happens to individuals when they become infirmed and elderly. They're no longer able to work, and so they're pushed to the margins of society. We treat them as burdens, not joys, links in that chain keeping us down, as Carl Trueman said. And so we place them in windowless buildings and out of sight, out of mind. And increasingly, especially in Canada, we are just encouraging them to give up and commit suicide. And so just as our culture encourages parents to abort their unwanted children, we are now encouraging adults to assist in the suicide of their unwanted elderly parents. I believe that as Christians, we have an obligation to reverse these horrible trends. We have a great opportunity to proclaim Christ to unbelievers months before they die. We have an opportunity to bring the church to Christians in these homes who haven't had the opportunity to participate in Christian worship in years. And we have the opportunity to comfort Christians who are dying, reminding of the hope they have in the resurrected Christ. And I believe churches and leaders can meet this need by starting a simple worship service at a care facility near them. Last year, I started a new initiative called Heritage Mission. And we provide free training and resources and coaching to churches to help them start these worship services simply and effectively. With just a handful of volunteers giving a few hours a month, churches can expand their outreach, have new opportunities to preach the gospel to the lost, and provide the hope of Jesus Christ to the infirmed and vulnerable. I've ministered in a variety of these contexts and have been involved in a number of initiatives, but I found nothing else that is so simple to start and has as big of an impact than starting simple worship services in care facilities. So I want to encourage each of you here, whether you're a clergy or laity, just to consider starting up one near you. My job is really to help you do that as quickly and effectively as possible. If you're interested, you can just come talk to me afterwards. I have a booth at a table downstairs. You can also find out more of a website, heritage-mission.com. So please feel free to talk to me at any time if you want to find out more. Thank you.
Have a giveaway. I am a registered nurse and I represent Anglican Health Ministries. We firmly believe that the church is the one place where people will go and ask questions that they will not ask of their physician or their healthcare provider. And our goal in Anglican Health Ministries is really to come alongside churches to assist them and equip them with resources and education to navigate what's available to them through healthcare and within their communities. We do have a giveaway downstairs. As Georgette said, it is a healthy living bag, a little gym bag with lots of healthy living things in it. So I would ask you to come by the table and just fill out a little piece of paper and drop it in our Anglicans for Life bag, and we will pull that and give it away. For those of you who are flying, I am sorry because there's something heavy in the bottom of it. I just want to make that announcement. But Anglican Health Ministries really will help you, come alongside you in your parish to identify those one or two people who are always the go-to. Each parish has those people that have bits and pieces of information to kind of help others in their congregation navigate what's available around them, whether they need a caregiver, whether they need questions answered for hospitals, whether or not they need hospice services, who's the best hospice, or as Mike pointed out, nursing homes. I'm delighted that Mike is doing this service in nursing homes. We know that only God gives life, from conception in the womb all the way to natural death. And there's a population of people in nursing homes that have been forgotten, often by the church. So we do need to reach out to them. But in between, we also know that the Lord is calling us to be good stewards of our health, our bodies, and our minds. And the church is available to provide that. And sometimes we just need to have some additional equipping or additional resources. One of the things that we can do is assist you in your church to create a resource binder for your community that will answer questions about what does it mean to be a caregiver for the loved one in my home? What are the sacrifices and the costs that I have to understand in order to be that caregiver? What are the available resources in my community? Is there a clinic, for example, that will offer free health care? Is there a Department of Aging that I can go to ask questions for my aging mother? Where are the local Alzheimer's societies and groups? Are there places that will give free vaccines to children for those people who are uninsured or underinsured? How do I navigate Medicare and Medicaid and the insurance world? And when the physician tells my mother and father who are in the hospital that they can go to a nursing home and it'll be paid for 100 days, what does that really mean? And what does that mean for me? So we can help you navigate all of those things. We would love to partner with you to do that. We will do it based on the specific needs of your parish and your community. And we have a table downstairs with some prayer cards, some little health information cards that you can take, and also the giveaway. So please stop by. Thank you.
Thanks. Hi, guys. I have met a lot of you before. My name's Sammy, if we haven't met yet, but I just wanted to speak a little bit about what AFL is doing for students in our churches. At Anglicans for Life, as you all know, our goal is really that every person would see themselves and other humans as worthy of life. That's our goal. With students, before we talk about these issues that we've heard about today about abortion and euthanasia and gender dysphoria and the transgender issues that are revolving our culture, we really have to be first talking about identity with them, which I know all of you know. If you're a parent, if you've ever worked with students, that's a huge part of my own testimony as a student. And when I met the Lord in my early college years, that's a huge part of how I became a Christian. But I know that you guys know that. I wanted to make you aware that we have a youth curriculum, and that's its goal. Its goal is to talk to students and youth leaders and parents about these issues surrounding identity and relationships. It's part of our sexual risk avoidance programming, which really is another word for abstinence, but it really goes into talking about healthy decision making. It talks about identity and why knowing who you are in Christ should empower you to make good decisions. And I will say I wrote this curriculum over a period of a few years, really. It's been edited since then, but I did so in mind that as a parent and a youth leader, maybe you're a volunteer youth leader. You don't have a ton of time every week to create these lessons for students to learn about these topics. You feel awkward talking about these topics yourself. This curriculum was made so that you really, all you need to do is introduce the topic to your students and create conversations about the lesson after. It's very user friendly. It's very easy for parents and youth leaders to learn and to use. Because the harsh reality is, I mean, as we've heard from our speakers today, we're phenomenal, but the one thing that we all know is that if we don't talk about these issues with students, that they're going to hear it from somewhere else that most likely is not rooted in Christ. So if we're not talking about these things at youth group, if you're a student and your youth group isn't talking about these issues, have them connect with me. I would love to help them figure out how to tackle these issues with you guys. If you're in a public school and you want to learn how to have healthy conversations with your peers about these things and have dialogue about them, I would love to help you do that. You can find our curriculum on youaremadeformore.org. Also, if you go to the AFL website, it's linked through there as well. And the other thing I wanted to highlight was a resource that we came out with this past summer to celebrate the 40-year anniversary of Anglicans for Life. It was called Uprooting Lies and Planting Truth, and it was a 2-month series, I believe. And every week we picked a different cultural lie that students are facing. So we talk about abortion, we talk about gender dysphoria, a wide variety of topics, and we have a video that talks about that lie, and we have obviously the truth outlined in that video. So it was created to be an educational series for students who are pro-life, wanting to learn more about the pro-life movement and different issues going along with that. And then every week we either have like a Facebook Live video with questions that we cover that were sent in, or we have questions that you can talk about at home as a family with your kids regarding the video. And we got a ton of great feedback from people who had used that series. It's a great, simple place to start. They're like 10-minute videos, if that, just about different topics in the pro-life movement. So that can be found at our website too, youaremadeformore.org. And there's like a tab up top that says Uprooting Lies and Planting Truth, and all the information is there for you guys. Thank you for your time, and if you haven't connected with me and you'd like to come find me, and we'll get connected. Thank you.